Tonight on Here and Now, an update on the cybersecurity breach at Memorial University's Grenfell campus.
The university finally speaks out about a cybersecurity incident that took place at Grenfell campus last week. But they still don't know if any personal information was leaked. I'll have all the details. That's coming up.
The decision by Hockey NL to suspend the post-game handshake continues to draw both praise and criticism.
I was really shocked when I first saw the headline about that decision.
They did not ban the handshake. They just moved the time that they were doing it.
Good game, guys. We're going to press the flesh on that story coming up.
This is an essential service. I mean, you know, we got to have gas.
Gas pumps on Change Islands dry for 3 weeks, causing concerns for both residents and town council.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Heather Gillis, filling in for Carolyn Stokes. Tonight, our top story, with students set to return to class after the holidays, Memorial University's Grenfell campus is still dealing with a cybersecurity incident. IT services are shut down and experts are investigating, but the university still doesn't know if any personal information was leaked. Here and Now's Colleen Connors has more.
It's orientation day for many international students, trying to find their dorm rooms, but checking in without internet or email access. Grenfell campus is in an IT lockdown.
Not all IT services are currently inaccessible. So any IT services that are run through the St. John's campus are actually operational. And one of the things we have at the university is a mun.ca address for every single employee and student, including all of those here.
Online classes start tomorrow. Regular classes Monday, possibly without Wi-Fi, email, or any IT services.
It is at this point unclear what computer systems faculty will actually have access to by that time. And it is also unclear how the employer expects its employees to do the work they need to do in order to be ready to deliver those classes on time. So right now it is feeling like as an academic staff member, it's feeling like this is being a plan that's being made up as we go along.
Sutherland agrees that planning teams are trying to adapt. He doesn't know if data was leaked, lost, or stolen. He also doesn't know if the incident took place on December 29th or before. But the school did report it to the National Cybercrime Coordination Center, a unit of the RCMP, on the 30th. The National Anti-Fraud Center is also aware.
There are concerns and there are feelings of uncertainty because the systems that we normally use on a day-to-day basis and don't even think about, take for granted, are not necessarily there.
Grenfell is taking steps to protect academic, research, and administration activities. A professor with the university who specializes in cyber attacks, who is not privy to this particular incident, says a motive can come from anywhere.
So there's lots and lots of reasons why somebody might be interested in gaining access to university systems. Some of it could be about technology that's kind of pre-commercialization, intellectual property theft and stuff. In some cases, it could be a very vanilla, box standard kind of motivation like ransomware or something like that. We don't really know in this particular case, but there are lots of reasons that somebody might be interested in causing havoc, and it might be, as they say, for fun or for profit.
One good thing, the fast-acting IT shutdown at Grenfell means the cybersecurity breach is contained to one location.
The really kind of comforting thing is that actually we don't have a province-wide outage.
As of right now, all IT services are still down on the campus. ATM machines aren't working, debit machines aren't working, but students are still trickling in, signing in to their dorm rooms for another semester. All while the university investigates this cyber incident. Colleen Connors, CBC News, Corner Brook.
To sports now, the hassle over hockey handshakes is continuing to stir up debate in this province and beyond. Hockey's governing body in the province is promising to improve its communication strategy, but it's not backing down on its approach to the post-game ritual. Here and Now's Terry Roberts has this feature report.
Tuesday night in Paradise, two high school hockey teams in a display of sportsmanship. This handshake is taking place before the opening face-off. And that's what all this fuss is about. Traditionally, both teams met at center ice for a handshake after the game. Now the shake is before the puck drops. It's a big change for minor and school hockey, both of which are governed by Hockey NL. Hockey NL says it had to make a change, that the number and severity of altercations during the post-game handshake were on the rise. So Hockey NL's minor council issued a surprising and controversial edict just before Christmas.
There is the events that start in the handshake and spill off the ice and go into events that take place outside of the arena. It's a concerning trend.
These altercations are tracked, so there is data. And according to those numbers, this province is second highest in the country for altercations. 3.1 incidents per 1,000 players. So on a trial basis, teams like these will greet each other before the game, with the home team on their bench and the visitors doing a skate-by. After the final buzzer, both teams go directly to their dressing rooms. This experiment was suggested by an on-ice official. Hockey leaders hope the change will still emphasize sportsmanship while reducing the number of post-game dust-ups involving players, coaches, and sometimes even parents.
Do we keep it or do we not? That's the discussion. But if we don't try anything, we're going to be doing the same thing over and over again and not shifting the underlying challenges that we're seeing in the game.
For now, female players like these will continue the post-game handshake tradition. Hockey NL will decide on a longer-term strategy after this season.
This wasn't something that was done on a whim. This is something that analyzed on multiple fronts.
The handshake decision shook the hockey world, all the way to the World Junior Championships in Sweden. Even the Premier weighed in, asking Hockey NL to reconsider the move. The backlash was so intense that the chair of Hockey NL's minor council up and quit a few days ago.
I was really shocked when I first saw the headline about that decision made by Hockey Newfoundland.
This sports psychiatrist in Ontario, a Grand Falls, Windsor native, says it's a bad move.
To change that for a league or a small microcosm of sport because of bad behavior by a few, I think is setting an example in the wrong direction.
Carla Edwards says Hockey NL should deal with the offenders.
Decorum in sports and culture and self-regulation and discipline is all a part of being an athlete and your character.
We're not stopping dealing with the troublemakers either. That's not happening. But what we've seen is dealing with the troublemakers hasn't stopped the issues.
Hockey NL says it's not so easy. This hockey school owner and former pro says the post-game handshake is a breeding ground for trouble.
There's a lot of altercations after the games, and referees were having a hard time, and there was a lot of people were doing a lot of extra work when it was unnecessary work, with suspension and suspending kids and suspending coaches.
For McKim, hockey's troubles start at home.
Maybe if parents would teach their kids more at home to be more accountable and stop blaming the coaches, stop blaming the referees, stop blaming the teachers, maybe our kids have a little bit more discipline. But this is not just hockey. This is a social thing.
For some, the hockey handshake is hard to let go, including these diehards, reliving their glory days during a noon-hour skate in St. John's.
Once the game is over, you shake hands. It's good sportsmanship. Something we're taught as kids from your parents, school.
At the end of the day, you play the game. When the game is over, right, it's a sign of sportsmanship. You leave the game on the ice, you shake hands, and you move forward.
Not at this game, however. It ends with a heated scrum in the corner, emotions running high. But this is what Hockey NL wants to see. Instead of risking more trouble during a handshake, the players skate quietly to their dressing rooms. Terry Roberts, CBC News, Paradise.
Staying with hockey, St. John's player Maggie Connors was a part of hockey history this week. She played in the first ever professional women hockey league game on Monday, and Connors says it was an important moment for her and for women's hockey.
It's a lot of nerves, but it's a lot of excitement at the same time. Obviously, when you're standing on that blue line and the people that have made this league obviously kind of come to what it is, and Billie Jean King walks out, like it really does hit you, and you kind of think of everyone that kind of has come before you that hasn't had the opportunity, but also you think about the little girls, even like when I was younger, now that they have kind of this to look up to, and even the little girls in Newfoundland that are going to be playing and maybe one day want to play in this. So you definitely soak in the moment and try and realize the situation that you're in.
Well, another quiet day out there weather-wise, just some flurries on the west coast. We've got this cold front that is really the difference between seeing some milder temperatures today across the island and some much chillier temperatures up across Labrador. Now we've got an area of low pressure just to the south of us now. Fortunately, that is going to pass east of us as we head through tonight and into tomorrow. But the next weather maker, this area of low pressure here getting itself together in the Gulf of Mexico, that is going to head our way as we head just in time for Friday. So let's watch what happens here as we head through Thursday evening. We've got that area of low pressure bringing potentially some snow up across portions of the maritime provinces, but our snow starts Friday morning, continues right through the afternoon into Friday. This is when we should see some of the heavier snow at this point. And then we've got those winds picking up as we get into the evening hours and through Saturday. This one sparking some winter storm watches for most of eastern Newfoundland. I'll tell you what to expect when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, 3 people are facing charges after a major RCMP drug bust in central Newfoundland. Police searched a home in Grenfell's Windsor on December 30th. They seized over 1 kilogram of cocaine, other drugs, thousands of contraband cigarettes, a shotgun with bullets, and over $100,000 in cash. 3 people were arrested and charged with offenses, including possession for the purpose of trafficking. Well, a community off the island's northeast coast has run out of gas. Pumps have been dry since mid-December. But for the 140 so residents of Change Islands, there's only one business that sells gas, and it hasn't had a delivery since late September. Pumps ran out on December 12th. An Ultramar company still delivers home heating fuel, but Town Council was told gas wouldn't be shipped from neighboring Fogo Island anymore. Change Island's Mayor Paula Flood considers gas an essential service that should be supplied to the island. Flood says residents are concerned and she's worried about what will happen during an emergency.
If there's a power outage, we need gas for our generator. The Transport Canada regulations limit the amount of fuel that can be taken on the ferry. We have fishing enterprises, we have tourism in the summer, and but one of the biggest concern right now is the response vehicle, because we cannot take it off the island to gas it up and bring it back. That unit has to stay on the island in case of an emergency.
Now, Ultramar has been delivering fuel to Change Islands for about 20 years. CBC News has asked them about the situation, but we've not heard back. According to a statement from the office of Fogo Island MHA Derek Bragg, it has been in contact with both the local supplier and providers about the issue.
I think, Peter, an election call in 2024 would be the 3rd election in 6 years.
We look ahead to 2024 politics and talk to the leader of the PC party about what he thinks about the prospect of a provincial election.
Well, if you have any travel plans on Friday, I suggest you listen to the forecast very carefully. It looks like some winter storm watches are in effect. We'll get into all the details coming up.
Well, before we get to the weather, we wanted to show you this video. It's from the other side of the country on Vancouver Island. A family discovered that they had this unusual tenant. It is a black bear. He'd taken up residence in the crawl space under their house.
Incredible. Black bears hibernate through the winter, and while it's rare, there have been recorded cases of bears denning under homes in the past. There was a happy ending, though. A conservation officer managed to scare the bear off the property, but boy, what an adventure for both the animal and the family.
There's something to be said there about Goldilocks, whether that was just right, but not just right for the family, even though the bear liked that little den.
Definitely.
And as for the weather, will things be just right or too cold?
You're definitely going to want to hibernate over the next couple of days. Things are going to get very wintry across the province or across portions of the province anyway, particularly eastern Newfoundland. But until we get there, it has been a fairly quiet day. Temperatures actually pretty nice out there, +1, +2 for most of eastern Newfoundland. You head towards central and the west coast, just a tad cooler than that, hovering around 0 or just below. All the cool air is up across Labrador. -16 is where you topped out in Nain this afternoon. You head towards the southeast, though. Those temperatures a little warmer than that. If we take a look at where you're sitting right now, still at about -17 in Nain. You factor in that wind chill, feeling more like -28. Wind chill values of about -22 in Lab City today at the moment. And then we do have a bit of a wind chill out there across the island. But as we head through the night tonight, we will see some of those wind chill values drop close to the -teens through areas, low-lying areas through central. But really that cold air, those cool wind chills really dominating the big land. If you take a look at that, Lab City down to -32 overnight tonight, and that really doesn't change as we head into tomorrow morning as we see that cold air really along the west coast of the island. We'll see those wind chill values into the -teens just barely. As far as what's going on right now, there's not a whole lot. We do have some light flurry activity on the west coast of the island, but other than that, not a whole lot tonight. And really, we won't see a whole lot over through the night tonight, other than maybe a few flurries in Lab West. Your temperatures will sit between -17 and -19 overnight tonight, generally light winds. And the best chance of seeing some flurries, a slight chance of flurries really, is just the Avalon. We'll hover around -3 tonight, dipping into the double digits, though, again, through those low-lying areas with generally clear skies through tonight, or some partly cloudy skies, I should say, through the night tonight. So I put on some wind gusts here for us for tomorrow, for the future tracker. As we head through the night tonight, not a whole lot of wind, but we will start to see that on the increase as we head into tomorrow morning. That area of low pressure that I chatted about yesterday is staying offshore at this point. That's what it looked like. Most models are pulling it offshore. But if we do see a little bit of activity from that, it'll likely just be some flurries, maybe some freezing drizzle, because we do have those northerly winds in play, and they'll pick up a little bit. So they'll be gusting anywhere from about 40 to 50 kilometers per hour. Through tomorrow afternoon. Other than that, just some cloudy skies, few flurries certainly possible on the west coast, and up across Labrador, a quiet day for you as well. But as we head into Thursday night and into Friday morning, this is when our next weather maker moves in. This is the one that's prompting that winter storm watch for eastern Newfoundland. So again, still a bit of disagreement on just how much snow will fall or how close the system will be towards us. Again, as always, it will completely depend on the track. But at this point, looking like we'll start to see some of that snow develop through Friday morning, and then eventually get fairly heavy as we head into the afternoon hours. Now the track, again, at this point, this model showing through central, we'll see some of that snow as well, but the heaviest snow should be for eastern Newfoundland. Now by the time we get into the noon hour, past that around 4 or 5 o'clock, that's when we start to get into some of that really heavy snow. And the winds are going to start to ramp up with this one, especially into the evening and overnight hours, where we're looking at those winds gusting maybe 60, 70, even 80 kilometers per hour. So no surprise to see those winter storm watches. This will lead to reduced visibility, some blowing snow as well. And it will continue, like I said, through most of the night. Now, how much snow are we talking? From the actual system itself, it should just extend through to central. So we could be seeing 5 to 15 centimeters for those of you through central, maybe the south coast of the island as well. But we could be talking 15 to 25 plus centimeters of snow by the time we get into Saturday morning. And with that snow and blowing snow, travel will not be easy for your Friday night, so you're definitely going to want to keep that in mind. For tomorrow, though, like I said, just some flurries. Those northerly winds will hover around the 0-degree mark in St. John's, and then a little bit below as you head towards the west coast. That's where you'll see the best chance. Actually, beautiful day for those of you on the west coast. -3 in Corner Brook, some light winds up across Labrador. You're looking at your temperatures still into the minus teens with minus single digits towards the coast. Now, cool down, definitely coming for the weekend across the island as well. I'll get into those details when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. This year, Newfoundland and Labrador will be receiving equalization payments once again. The Progressive Conservatives say it's a sign that the Liberals are doing a poor job managing the economy. Here and Now's Peter Cowan spoke with Tory leader Tony Wakeham about that, the possibility of an election this year as well.
I think what we've seen over the last 8 years in our province has been a lot of our programs that we rely so heavily on have gotten just worse and worse. Almost, well, we've used the word crisis. We've seen our healthcare system go into crisis. We've seen a cost of living crisis. We've seen the housing crisis. We've seen a crisis in education. So all of these things have had an impact on Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. So for next year, my focus as leader of the PC Party Newfoundland and Labrador will not only to bring these issues that are important to people to the attention of the government, but to also to offer solutions to the government. And for me, cost of living and healthcare are still the two top topics that are out there right now among Newfoundlanders and Labradorians.
Okay, so when you talk about solutions to those are two very complicated issues. What are some of the solutions you think that we haven't seen the current Liberal government act?
Well, we've talked about the cost of living, for example, and the increase in taxation. The thing that I would look at doing besides just eliminating, I think the carbon tax has to go, I think the sugar tax has to go, but I'd also would look for the government to index, for example, seniors' benefits. It's something that the Seniors Advocate, for example, has a call for, and it's something that we've been calling for. On the health side, for me, it's about making sure we stabilize the system. Too many people are getting left behind. And when I talk about how we might do that, if you're going to stabilize the healthcare system, you have to start with the people who actually provide the service. And right now, we do not have enough people providing that service. One of the things that government could do right now is to turn around and say to every student currently enrolled in a college or in our university, and say to you, when you graduate, we will give you a full-time job. So let's offer them those full-time jobs on their way into the program, not on their way out.
When you look ahead, one of the things this year is we're starting to receive equalization for the first time, so it's $218 million. What do you think the government should do with that money?
We're back on equalization. And so that's the result of the fact that our revenues obviously have gone down, which is a result of...
Now, the economists I talked to said it's actually Alberta's revenues have gone way up. So, and they're bringing up the average, and so we benefit.
So we benefit a little bit. But I still believe it's a problem with the economy and what we've been able to generate here in Newfoundland and Labrador. The point of the matter, and what I'm making is the formula itself is broken. It continues to be broke. We had a chance to try and fix it. We didn't. It's 2029 now, before it'll be changed again. So what we need to focus on is how do we get a better share? How is that formula needs changing, and how do we change that? And how do we make that change? How do we pressure the federal government to make that change? Clearly, the Liberal government in Ottawa has not been willing to make that change.
There's a lot of speculation over an election call. Would you like to see an election in 2024?
I think, Peter, an election call in 2024 would be the third election in 6 years. We have a system of set election dates in this province, and it was done for a particular reason. When we think about fixed election dates, I think the fixed election date would see the government going to the polls in 2025. And I like the idea of fixed election dates because it allows more people to put their names forward or to think about entering the political world. Because most people who think about going into politics are not simply sitting at home scratching their head and saying, I may decide to go into politics. They're full-time, they're busy, they've got careers. So if you have a fixed election date, it gives people, in my opinion, more people an opportunity to think about it and to plan for it. And that's what we should be trying to do. We should be trying to encourage more people to enter politics.
I'm a little surprised at your answer just because, there's all this talk of all the things you think the Liberals are doing wrong. most of the time, opposition leaders are usually chomping at the bit to say, I want an election because I want the chance to be able to go in there, replace them because I think I could do a better job.
Well, I believe I can do a better job, and we will hold the government accountable for that and continue to put forward solutions for that. But ever since I ran for politics, I said it has to be about the people and not about the politicians. You know, if you've got an extra $8 million to spend next year, then maybe we spend it on the people of the province rather than another election. I would welcome the opportunity, if an election is called, to defeat this Liberal government, because I think the people of Newfoundland and Labrador want a different change. They want a change in government. They want to see things different. We certainly need to improve our healthcare system. We need to improve our housing strategy. We need a poverty reduction strategy. We had one that was one of the best in the country, and the Liberal government abandoned. So there's lots of things that need fixing, and I am prepared to step up and fix them whenever an election is called.
Mr. Critch, you need glasses.
Season 3 of Son of a Critch debuts next week. Series creator Mark Critch stops by to tell us what's in store, from flashbacks to dream sequences and even game shows, and how the show is being received in the U.S. That's a little later on Here and Now.
It's a bizarre cult film.
Love, murder, mental illness, Newfoundland independence.
There's a sickness or darkness in there that's like a fish hook. It's in your abdomen while you're laughing.
We were the very first feature film produced in Newfoundland.
And was the most insane style to make a film that you could imagine.
We had a lot of people who had never acted before. That's not necessarily a great idea.
People made movies in Hollywood. People didn't make movies in Newfoundland. Fasten your seatbelts and come along for the ride.
And that's all I can say, I think. I don't know.
Welcome back to Here and Now. They live together, travel together, work together, and in their words, fail together. But one Bangladeshi Canadian family of 5 wouldn't have it any other way. When the eldest daughter came to St. John's at 17 to go to university, she made her younger siblings a promise that she'd help bring them here too. The CBC Creator Network followed the family from their time in this province and on to Ottawa in a piece that they call The Art of Coexisting.
I knew that I was walking into a new country with limited resources.
At that point, it was very heart-wrenching. I thought I was going to be sent back home. Kept asking myself, you know, I do belong here. I flew like halfway across the world just to do this thing.
Am I just kind of bringing everyone to a situation that they might not end up liking and end up resenting me for it?
The past 8 years have been quite the ride. It all began with a promise I made to my siblings that I'd bring them here no matter what. It took time, but one by one, year after year, each of them made it to Canada, and we were finally reunited. We share a household, we travel together, we invest together, run our non-profit organization side by side. We pursue entrepreneurial ventures, take risks, and yes, we also fail together. So you can say we have been through it all. Our story is about 5 individuals with 5 different personalities who make a choice every day to merge our lives. Sure, there are challenges and struggles, but that's what makes our journey unique. My name is Mehnaz, and I'm the most responsible one in the family.
I'm Saif Ahmed. I'm the elder one of the family.
My name is Adib Rahman, and you can say I'm the chef of the family.
Hey, I'm Sharov. I'm the middle of the pack in the family.
Hi, this is Babiha. I'm the youngest of the family.
I got here when I was 17 years old. We were looking for the most affordable places to study in Canada, and we came across Memorial University of Newfoundland. I kind of promised my siblings that we are going to be here in a year, so it happened actually. In a year later, my brother, Adib Rahman, and my brother, Shorav Islam, also ended up coming here. And then the year after, my sister, Fabiha Tarannum, also joined us.
When I first landed, it was a flurry of emotions for me, really, as I was trying to pace through what life could look like. I mean, there's a myriad of challenges living with 5 other people, even if they're your family, really. For me, what really struck out is an exchange of energy, you know? This could be something simple as meeting someone over like a coffee machine, and you say something and their day just shifts. And I've done that to Mehnaz and folks along my way, but I guess the message that I was trying to get across is I've been with these people for a greater half a decade. So while there are challenges, I think the big challenge is knowing that we're all changing.
When you live with a lot of people, it can be a little bit difficult. It can be a little bit of an adjustment, especially if you're the kind of person who likes time to himself but also likes time with others.
Living with a family can be a mixture of good and challenging moments. Sometimes you may have disagreements or conflicts over different things like will do the dishes, personal space, or even lifestyle choices.
And then when you're living with a bunch of people, you kind of have to navigate those indecisions, right? Like where to eat. Everyone have their own choices of where they want to eat. So we kind of have to go back and forth. So those kind of things takes a lot of time to decide.
It's a huge dynamic shift. We do have sometimes misunderstandings, political discussions that we do, or career discussions that we do, some liberal or conservative. And we do have those debates. At the end of the day, we all come to like a common conclusion where we all agree that this is something that we can work on from our side to make things better.
One thing I truly enjoy about living with my family is that you always have someone to lean on to when you're having a bad day. I know sometimes work and life gets overwhelming. And then when I come home, I always have people I can kind of be very candid and upfront with how I'm feeling without like thinking that they're judging me or they're feeling that burden of what I'm overloading on them. Always having like a strong support system is the best part. Always having someone to share a meal with. Like we always have dinners together. We always go out to eat together. We travel together. So I think all that kind of makes up for a good story always to look back to. Lots of good memories.
It's these moments that make living with my family really special for me.
You're doing things all the time, like you're having all of your best memories with the people who are so important to you and are so close to your heart. It's never a dull moment. Through the ups and downs, it's always a great story at the end of the night. The way I look at it, I live with everyone that is important to me. I live with the people I wouldn't want to live without. So it's pretty interesting, but for the most part, I love it.
It's knowing that we're all changing, but to kind of not shrug away from the fact that we love each other, but accept it.
One advice to anyone who's looking to immigrate to Canada or move to a new country would be just go for it. Just do what your heart desire and kind of see how it works out. Like take big risks.
That it's okay to fail, because I've learned more from my failures than from just like excelling at regular things.
You know, find peace in the fact that we're all going through this. It's a collective experience, and just be patient. And I promise you that whatever you want is probably already yours.
Run into the rain and run into the storm, and you will see how brave things are on the other side.
Season 3 of CBC's hit series Son of a Critch is airing in January, premiering a brand new season. Mark Critch, it's going to follow you around as a young boy in St. John's, Newfoundland. Tell us a little bit about what we're going to see young Mark do in this season.
Well, this year is the beginning of the end in a way, in that he is a grade 9. So he is the king of the castle when it comes to the playground. It's going to be leaving junior high. It's his last year. And so this season sees us saying goodbye to the school and a lot of the characters there on that playground. So it's kind of nice to see them grow up. Benjamin's about a foot taller and a year wiser. So it was great to see, but it's kind of sad to say goodbye to St. Bon's.
How have the first 2 seasons been received so far?
Great. You know, we've done really well here in Canada, viewer-wise and with reviews and stuff. And down the States, things are going well. We're the #1 comedy on the CW. And we got great reviews from Wall Street Journal and the LA Times and the New York Post and stuff. So it went better than I thought it would. I just assumed nobody's going to watch that, sure. And then they seem to like it. And all over the place. I just ran into a fella at the Duke of Duckworth, surprisingly, and he had moved here from Switzerland, originally born in Pakistan, and he was working with the UN in Geneva, and he had seen Son of a Critch, and he liked it over there watching, and then he Googled Newfoundland, looked on the government website, and got a job in the finance department, and moved here. And he was telling me all this. I was like, oh, you moved here from Switzerland? But anyway, God love him. So you don't know how you put these things out in the world and you don't know how it'll impact people.
Yeah, wow, that's an amazing story.
It's very odd.
Yeah, I want to ask you more about how the show has been received in the States, because there are so many Newfoundlandisms in it that I crack up laughing at, but how are other people receiving it?
Well, I think specificity is big in TV these days, one particular place that you might not know. I think people are used to, it's not like when I was a kid and every show was set in New York. People are used to watching things on streaming. You might watch a show set in Iceland or something. But at the end of the day, the issues are all pretty universal, you know, being in love for the first time, getting bullied, things like that. So people connect with it, but they find the little Newfoundlandisms just kind of interesting and cool, and might send a few more people Googling Newfoundland.
The film and television industry here is growing so much. Son of a Critch is part of that. Tell us a little bit about the impact that the show has here on the industry and the local economy.
Well, when I was a kid, the idea of getting up and walking out of your house and doing a TV show is very, very, very rare. And every now and then Gordon Pinsett would come home from the mainland and he'd been in a movie. It's like, oh, that buddy was on television. And now, my God, you have Hudson and Rex and us and lots of great films and all the Christmas movies and stuff. So what I love is seeing young people who play our class, the background performers on the show. They're on a set where that is completely possible. And the idea of, oh, I might be a camera person one day, or I might do lighting, or I might drive transport vehicles. They can look around and say, okay, this is an industry.
Now, I want to go back to the show. In the show, you play your dad. You know, your dad was a newsman. He talked about people's lives on the air. Yeah. No stranger to being on the air, but what do you think your mom and dad would have thought about seeing their lives play out in this show?
If mom and dad had been around for this, I think they would feel the same way my brother does, which is probably equally parts proud and mortified. When you're like, you know, what are you talking about that for? Why are you talking about that for? It's like, it was important to me. Don't tell people about this. You know, so I think that they would be telling me, my God, Mark, you can't be saying that. Good God, you've embarrassed your mother. But then secretly going around the mall telling people, did you see the show last night? But I would be the last one to know that they liked it.
All right, well, we've been talking about season 3 in this interview. What about a season 4?
I hope so. You know, things are going well, and I would hope there would be a season 4. If we do have a season 4, then we would be going to Holy Heart of Mary Regional High School, which I went to, and it would be much bigger, that big theater there where I fell in love with performing, and closer to downtown, getting in a bit of trouble. So that would be, we'd be saying goodbye in this season to junior high in St. Bon's and that world. And then once he gets comfortable there, you blow all that up and you put him in a bigger, scarier place, because that's the way life is.
Awesome. Mark, thank you so much for telling us about season 3 and being here with us today.
Thank you so much for the support.
At least 95 people have reportedly been killed in a pair of explosions in southern Iran. That's according to state media. More than 200 others were hurt. The blasts happened during a commemoration ceremony for a prominent Iranian general. He was killed in a U.S. drone strike in 2020. Iranian officials say the explosions, which came about 20 minutes apart, were bombs triggered by terrorists. No one has claimed responsibility for the blasts, which happened about 800 kilometers southeast of the capital, Tehran. Back in Canada, emergency rooms nationwide are struggling to deal with a surge in respiratory illness like COVID, RSV, and the flu. But major staff shortages are making the situation even worse, and it's led to overflowing hospitals and long wait times. CBC's Lauren Pelly has more on that story.
You're gonna sleep right after, huh? Of course you are.
While many Canadians relaxed over the holidays, Joey Salmingo took his newborn to a crowded hospital with a fever.
It took an hour just to see a triage nurse.
Oh, I know. And it was 7 more hours until Salmingo's son was admitted to a bed.
So as the hours just went by, obviously the frustration, the anger is setting in.
Patients across the country keep facing those kinds of hours-long waits. In Quebec, provincial data shows dozens of hospital ERs are overflowing. And the average waiting time on a stretcher hit 18 hours by Tuesday afternoon.
This is the worst the healthcare system has been ever. You know, we're seeing patients in stretchers laying there for days on end.
This nurse in Montreal says long waits are tied to ongoing staff shortages and pressure from the usual respiratory viruses, plus COVID as well.
COVID is rampant throughout the hospitals, throughout every unit.
At St. Michael's Hospital in Toronto, upwards of 10% of patients on the wards are COVID positive.
It's often COVID intersecting with other illnesses and making people sick enough to end up in hospital.
He says most patients falling seriously ill with either COVID or influenza are also people who didn't get the latest vaccines. Federal data shows only 15% of the population got an updated COVID shot this fall.
Our vaccination rates across most populations and age groups, and in particular in children, are lower than we have seen in the past.
Doctors say there's still plenty of time to get those updated shots. COVID is still circulating, and the flu season in much of eastern Canada isn't expected to peak for several weeks. That means a busy winter ahead, and the more Canadians who can stay out of hospital, the better. Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
The London Zoo is kicking off the new year by taking stock of all of the animals in its care. Every zoo inhabitant there will be counted and registered over the next few days. There are those who line up quietly for the annual head count and some treats, but it's hard to expect creatures of all stripes to behave. Some showed no signs of taking things seriously, while some other striped creatures, there they are, stayed curious. There were even some head-scratching moments. London Zoo is home to more than 300 different species, adding up to 14,000 residents. Welcome back to Here and Now. Well, Ashley, we got a good shot of snow on the way. Time to break out the shovel and the salt and
snowblower.
Snowblower.
Yeah, if you haven't got that thing serviced up yet, you're definitely going to want to do that as we head through Friday and into Saturday as our next weather maker moves in. Let's take a look at what's going on to time that out for you. So Thursday evening will pretty much quiet, just some snow developing on the west coast of the island along southeastern portions of Labrador. This really isn't associated with the area of low pressure. That will start to move in Friday morning. Now, that will get heavier as we head into the afternoon and evening hours, particularly for eastern Newfoundland, where we will see some of the heaviest snow. This will also be accompanied by some fairly strong winds in that time frame as well. So reduced visibilities, blowing snow, potentially near zero visibilities with some of these snowfall rates. Some models are pointing at 4-5 centimeters an hour falling in the evening hours. Now, that system will continue to track a little bit further east as we head through the night, but our temperatures through the day on Friday will be below zero, anywhere from about -2 to -3 across the board, a little cooler for the northern peninsula, southeastern Labrador. But for the most part, Labrador, you're going to sit this one out. Just some flurries possible in Cartwright at about -10. And then we're looking at some sunshine, -16 in Nain and -19 in Lab City. Now, as we head through the night on Friday and into Saturday, the area of low pressure will head offshore, but we've got an area of high pressure to the west, and this is tightening the gradient. And what that means is we're going to see some strong winds right through Saturday. Now, again, there's a bit of disagreement with this. But if that's the case, there's a lot of snow potentially falling through the overnight, 15, maybe even 25 centimeters of snow. You combine that with winds near 80, maybe even more than that, and some rapidly falling temperatures. We may continue to see some blowing snow through the day on Saturday. Eventually that will taper off, at least the snow will taper off, but we'll still see that on the west coast of the island. And again, these temperatures will be much cooler, down to the minus single digits, maybe even minus double digits. You factor in that wind chill. Wind chills will be in the minus teens, maybe even close to the minus 20s for a good chunk of Saturday. Up across Labrador, lovely day, lots of sunshine for you on Saturday, but your temperatures bitterly cold, anywhere from about -15 to -19 as your daytime highs. By the time we get into Sunday, we should start to see some sun, at least a few peaks of it into the afternoon hours. Daytime highs, again, still into the minus single digits, but -2 by the time we get into Monday with that chance of some flurries. For central Newfoundland, looking nice for Saturday, Sunday, even into Monday, just a few flurries possible for you. The coldest day on Saturday, warming up slightly as we get into Monday, and anywhere from -7 to -10 for the next couple of days for western Newfoundland, with a few flurries in the mix for you as well, both Sunday and Monday. Now, for eastern Labrador, sunshine right into next week, which looks gorgeous. Your temperatures in the minus teens. Western Labrador, you may see a few flurries by the time you get into Monday. Now, beautiful sunset here. I love sunset photos, you all know that. But this one is from St. Philip's Beach. Lisa Green shared that lovely shot with us. And if you have any weather photos that you would like to share with us, the best place, you can send them to my Facebook page, but the best place to do that would be email them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
How serene is that? I wonder if that's our calm before the storm.
I think that was yesterday, she said, but yeah, great shot there.
Beautiful picture nonetheless. Now, I know one more thing that we need to stock up on before the storm, and that's storm chips. Do you have a favorite kind?
Oh, that's hard. I just like glazed plain potato chips.
Okay.
A bit of dip.
Salt and vinegar.
Can't go wrong. Oh, salt and vinegar, good too. Yeah.
All right, well, that's our show for tonight. Thank you so much for being with us. Good night.
Good night.